Klint Kubiak has officially been named the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, and the expectation for him and the team when it comes around to the draft is that they'll draft Fernando Mendoza #1 overall. But there's a talking head out there that is questioning the fit of Fernando Mendoza with the Las Vegas Raiders. We're going to talk about that. And then to finish the show, the Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting on Aaron Rodgers again. Y'all know before we talk about it and break it all down, you gotta hear the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, football fans? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and I'm bringing you the latest around the NFL. So if you tuned in, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, we know that Klint Kubiak is coming off a Super Bowl victory as the offensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks and has officially been named the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. The expectations for the Raiders is to go out there and draft Fernando Mendoza #1 overall in this year's NFL draft. But there is a talking head out there by the name of Kurt Herbstreit, pretty sure you're familiar with him, who is questioning the fit of Fernando Mendoza with the Vegas Raiders. Herbstreit went on This Is Football show and had this to say. I really think he's a guy that the typical, we don't have a left guard, we don't have a right tackle. We need a couple of receivers. We really need a quarterback. That's not the guy. But if you got a couple tight ends, if you got an offensive line you feel good about, if you got a back that's capable, you got a few receivers, you just need the quarterback, then he's that guy when talking about Fernando Mendoza. A little bit unclear, not pretty much straight through and straightforward, but we get the point. He does not believe that if the Vegas Raiders do not do things correctly, he does not believe that Fernando Mendoza can go out there and elevate this team or quote unquote keep them afloat quite like a guy like Justin Herbert was able to do with the Los Angeles Chargers. And that's just me paraphrasing some of the words of Kurt Herbstreit because I just didn't want to go out there and drown your ears out with a long, lengthy quote. But I will say this. Klint Kubiak is coming in as a guy who really just showed what he's capable of as an offensive play caller throughout these playoffs and especially in the Super Bowl. The way that he was able to set things up early and throughout the game to eventually open things up for his offense later down or later in that game to get that touchdown that on that corner route off of some things that he set up throughout the game. Now, we all know that the offensive coordinator spot, you can go out there and be a hell of a play caller, but it's a different toll. It's a different job when you have to now become the head coach and manage the entire team versus just completely leaning on one side of the football. Now, when we talk about things like that, you kind of understand it in a way. But I do have confidence in Klint Kubiak that he can go out there and start to get the Raiders rolling in the right direction. The expectations for me is for him to go and draft Fernando Mendoza. But alongside doing so, you have to go out there and use some of that cap space that they will have and that draft capital that they will have to build the trenches up for the Las Vegas Raiders. You do have some pieces in place. You have Brock Bowers, you have Ashton Genty, and on the defensive side, you have guys like Max Crosby and a few other young players who can actually play football for the Las Vegas Raiders. So there's always going to be some type of question that comes in with drafting said players to see how they fit schematically, to see how they work, to see how they're going to enter the NFL. And with the QB being the #1 or the most important position on a team, why wouldn't you want to go out and get a guy who has shown that he can lead a team? How many times does Fernando Mendoza have to go to a microphone and tell you all that he will die for his teammates? How many times does Fernando Mendoza have to go to a microphone and say he wants to put it all on the line for you to understand it? So I get some of the trepidation from Kirk Herbstreit. I'm not going to say he's a complete moron or anything like that because I think it's a fair analysis. But on the inside, but of on the opposite side of the discussion, you have to take Fernando Mendoza if you're the Las Vegas Raiders. You don't have a quarterback. Now, it will be some challenges for Klint Kubiak to build this thing up so you can ensure that this season in year one, that Fernando Mendoza, you can see continual growth throughout the season, which is a fair analysis if you feel like he's coming into a situation that's not all the way under control. But Klint Kubiak is coming in and has worked with a number of quarterbacks, including a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Sam Darnold this season, who he helped continue his progression throughout his career to where at one point he was viewed as a bust, but now Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl champion. So I get it. I do understand it because we've seen a number of situations to where quarterbacks enter organizations are not doing things correctly, or they have a process that might potentially require 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road for them to really, really get going. But they have pieces on this team. Yes, they need to do a lot of patchwork, but this is not to say that they can't go into a season and compete and win some football games, maybe not compete for a playoff spot, but avoid being a complete dumpster fire like they were last season under Pete Carroll. So it's fair, again, to have some trepidation about if Fernando Mendoza can absolutely fit with the Vegas Raiders, depending on how they structure things within the building and on the field. But at the end of the day, Klint Kubiak is a smart offensive coordinator, and I'm pretty sure he understands, hey, if I want this young quarterback to succeed, we have to spend some money on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm pretty sure he understands the importance of an offensive line. The Seattle Seahawks didn't have the greatest offensive line, but they had a good one. And that helped Sam Darnold utilize his talents to go out there and succeed throughout this season. And I'm pretty sure he's going to understand the process of working with another young quarterback in Fernando Mendoza to come into this game and be successful. Fernando Mendoza said it himself. I know I'm not the fastest. I know I'm not the strongest. I know I don't have, the greatest arm, but I want to prepare like Tom Brady to I utilize my mind. And he has Tom Brady in his corner now. That's Fernando Mendoza, and he can utilize that as a mentor or some type of guidance. And he can utilize the offensive mind of Klint Kubiak to where Klint Kubiak can structure things and set a game plan in place so he can be successful. It's not the same type of situation to where you have Cam Ward going in with Brian Callahan and then he's getting fired. It's not the same situation to where you see, Baker Mayfield working with Hugh Jackson and all that stuff, or Sam Darnold when he started working with Adam Gase. It's not those type of situations. I believe that Klint Kubiak is far and beyond those guys compared to where the contemporaries started at. I think it's a lot different, and I think it would be a lot easier for guys like Fernando Mendoza to fit. Obviously, the offensive line needs a lot of work, but he still has pieces that he can lean on. And one of the more important pieces, or two of the more important pieces on the offensive side of the ball, they're on the team already. That's the running back in Ashton Genty, and that's Brock Bowers, probably a top 5 tight end in the NFL, to help Fernando Mendoza have continual growth throughout the season. So I think it's going to be a good fit. I don't think they're going to pass up on that opportunity. And if I'm proven wrong, we'll see at the end of the season. But hey, let me know your thoughts on that down below. Now I want to talk about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers once again. Once again, Mike Flournoy of NBC Sports pretty much said this. Per a source with knowledge of the situation, the Steelers definitely want Aaron Rodgers to return for 2026. It's not a ploy to make Rodgers think they want him back while hoping he doesn't return. They want him to return. And here's the kicker. They're in no hurry. While they don't anticipate the situation will take quite as long as it did last year to resolve itself, they're content to focus on developing second-year quarterback Will Howard. With Rodgers not there for the offseason program, Howard has a chance to become QB1 over Mason Rudolph. Okay, fine. I understand it. I get it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I get it. But how long are you going to continue to play this game of mediocrity in older quarterback play? And I'm not going out there and saying that Aaron Rodgers wasn't good last year, but he wasn't great. Yeah, he can come down and hold down the fort for another year while you continue the development of Will Howard, which will be fine. But how long are you going to turn this? How long are you going to go through this process and continuously wait on Aaron Rodgers? I get it. Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back, I believe he'll be solid for you. Not great, but solid for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But at the end of the day, you still have issues that I believe they should address. The defense, for the most part, is pretty much ready to go. You need another tight end. You need more wideouts. And if you are outside of Gainwell, if you re-sign him and bring him back, you need a running back. That's just the small stuff. The big stuff is, what did you have Will Howard doing last year to where you're not ready to turn the keys over to this guy? The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're getting on my damn nerves with this thing here. That's just me, though. I'm not saying it's 100% a bad decision, but how long are you going to turn this wheel of waiting on Aaron Rodgers? You waited so long to turn the wheel on Aaron Rodgers prevented you from being smart, for making other moves and smart decisions offensively last year. Hence why, once your number one wide receiver went down and DK Metcalf, because he did some bonehead stuff, you had nobody else to rely to outside of Freiermuth as a pass catcher. You have things that you need to work on as an organization. Did Will Howard not have some type of developmental stuff going on last year? I get it. Young quarterback maybe needs some more time. But two things could be true. Will Howard could need another year to sit behind him. But on the flip side, there also could be a way that you can help him grow by giving him reps. Having a timeline so you can see continual growth. You will not, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I really and firmly believe this. Even if they don't make the playoffs this season for the first time in a long time, I believe they'll be back. But how long are you going to wait on Aaron Rodgers this year? Playing this game this year? That's all I want to know. Why do you want to continue to do this? Instead of having your mind made up already and getting Will Howard started now. Getting them rolling now. Getting them with the playbook now. Having him get some offseason work in with the head coach. Now. It's just crazy as hell to me that the Pittsburgh Steelers want to continue to do this. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers can't come in and help y'all win some football games. But once Aaron Rodgers is done and you have nobody else taking reps outside of Mason Rudolph, you're back at square one. It makes no sense to me. Could it be something smart? Maybe with the Green Bay Packers plan, they had Brett Favre, had Aaron Rodgers sit, then had Aaron Rodgers, and then had Jordan Love sit. Cool, fine, and dandy. But those moves were made when guys still had good years left in their career. Aaron Rodgers, at best, probably got 1 year left. Will Howard already sat one season, so we have to go ahead and get this thing rolling. How long are you going to keep this thing going? That's all I want to know. I don't necessarily agree with the decision. That's just me. Why would you sit around and wait again? Because me personally, you waiting on Aaron Rodgers clouded your judgment in the draft with your selections to see and go and get the players he liked instead of getting the players that made sense for the actual franchise. That wide receiver group wasn't good. So why play this game once again? It absolutely makes no sense from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And hey, Mike McCarthy, look, I'm not saying, like I said, how long are you going to wait? That's my only gripe with it. Why wait on this to go out there and play a young player like Will Howard and get him rolling in the right direction, even if you have to take a step back to take a couple steps forward? And Mike McCarthy has shown that he can work with younger quarterbacks and set them up with a game plan to be successful. He did it in Dallas when Dak Prescott was hurt. Why can't he do it with the guy that has just been chilling, sitting, getting a couple reps in practice, learning and becoming a professional in the league? Makes no sense to me. Let me know how y'all feel about it. But the Pittsburgh Steelers waiting on Aaron Rodgers again is just crazy work to me. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And you already know, man, make sure you always love football. We appreciate y'all. Y'all already know. We're going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break